My humble respect to Guru Mahan, Guru Piran Sankaran, Guru Piranyo, fellow Jnanis. Today I'm going to continue chapter 28, Mahan's teachings on Mahan speaks about the subtle regions, and within us, I think we have multiple state of existence. And last time I spoke about how Swamiji, unravels the different states of our own existence. The one existence that we all experience regularly is the small I. This is the material personality. And Swamiji also speaks about the big I, which is a universal personality. And we have covered this in some of the previous classes, but now I can bring everything together in a more easier way. But let's review what we covered the last time, and then I'll bring it in the context of Swamiji's this convergence between the small I and the big I. So here it is. In the last class, I spoke about the different layers of our body or different states of consciousness. And of course, the first state of consciousness, we all are aware. Well, let's put it this way. We were in an unawareness state, a state of non-existence of the material body, mind, and personality. And some point, we attain this material body, and over the number of years since conception, slowly we did not have an understanding of the body, although we have embodied this material body. And one fine day we come out of our mother's womb, and even that a year, 2 years, we still don't have not fully grappled with that material personality. And during that period, we have a lot of conditioning that is taking place of this material world. And at some point, we then realize, we get used to this material body, and you see that the material personality forms to navigate this material body. So, as I spoke the last time, we see that, one of the first kind of layers of existence that we have is this physical body. We call it Annamaya Kosha in the scriptures. It's about, the matter body energy state of our existence. And this sometimes in the literature is called food illusion sheet, because food here is actually what we consume is what builds our body, and that body has the different personalities. And the food that we consume are from, earth, this is the minerals, water, fire, the heat, electromagnetic field, air. Of course, we breathe the air. The oxygen is very important. We breathe out carbon dioxide. And ether is actually space. So we see that our material body's construction is based on these 5 elements, and every aspect of that element is embedded in our body. Hence, to navigate this body, we have a mind. Nature's provided this software called mind, and the mind then navigates the body, and the mind eventually becomes wedded and welded to that material existence. So when the body is sick, the mind also falls sick. When the body is impacted, the mind is also impacted. When the body feels fantastic, vibrant, the mind also feels fantastic and vibrant. So this is the first state of existence and consciousness. We are all, from the time of waking right up to going to sleep, we experience this physical body. And then we have the astral body, which is, again, we see that this is the energy. This is, we have earlier the food, the physical body. Within the physical body, we have this energy sheet, which is what we call pranayama kosha. This is the life force. So we see that, this life force, so this matter, minerals, water, all these are converted into what we call electromagnetic force fields, electromagnetic field, or what we call it life force. Without that electrical pulse, life would not exist. So we see that, and sometimes this life force is called Kundalini, it's called various forces in that scriptures. But it is the source, or it is the source of the physical body's existence, right? The moment the energy is depleted or the dissipated, the body also become weak, and eventually we see that the body will stop growing and then starts slowly declining, and eventually you see that the body will start the experiencing sickness and eventually dissolution or death. So this is another state of, so this three phases, which is the astral body, we've got the energy, which is in the scriptures is written as Kundalini and Kriya Yoga, Kriya Force, and so on. The next one is actually mental sheet, which we call Manomaya Kosha, which is actually about our thoughts and emotions. This is what moves our pranas. This is what moves things for us. Without our mind and without our thoughts, we would not be able to undertake many things. Thoughts is what tells, okay, we're going to attend the satsang, or we're going to do this. So it moves the body to do something. And the emotions also play a key role. The emotions also helps us make decisions, help us, take actions and so on. So the mental sheet is really important. And we see that, that is why you see a lot of the focus in the, spiritual scripture is that how do we manage that software called the mind, right? So it is nature's provided that to, here nature means the material universe has provided the material body with this mind, which is part of the astral body, to be able to control, to be able to generate thoughts, to be able to create emotions, to be able to undertake things in this material world. So that mental sheet is really important because it is what moves us to do things or take actions or inactions. The third part of this astral body is actually the intellectual sheet, which is really the power of discrimination, the power to know things, the power to discern, the power to differentiate between what is real, unreal, what is right, what is mortal, immortal, all those things. So if you see, there is a important link between all of them. Now, if you're at the physical body level, your state of existence or the state of consciousness is very different. But at the energy level, the state of consciousness becomes more subtle, and we go to the mental level and the intellectual level. What is really interesting is that they are all interrelated. If the body is healthy, your energy flows are great, your mental state is strong because your brain, your body is healthy, the neurotransmitters are firing really well. We have, good flow of our energy. Flow of energy means, our cells can grow better, that are better. Our blood is moving in the optimal way, our breathing. So you've got all the right components to live a healthy physical life. Our body becomes healthy, our energy flows become great, our mental state becomes strong, and our intellectual capacity becomes sharper. And what we see here is that even within this realm, we see that, as we move up from the physical body to the energy, to the mental, to the intellectual, our state of consciousness becomes more and more subtle and more refined. You see, and this is the state of consciousness that Swamiji talks about. If we are still at the physical level and not move up and understanding the force within us, our mental power and intellectual, a lot of our mind will become very gross, very instinct driven, and so on. So we inherit a lot of the animalistic qualities because it's part of our DNA. And nature has helped us refine, and our astral body has become more stronger, that it actually have a master over the physical body. in people that have not done the refinement, you see that the physical instincts, the physical, body then overpowers the mind and the intellect, and you see that sometimes the decisions are very gross or not refined. The thoughts are not refined, the words are not refined, the actions are not refined. So we see that, this is the state of consciousness that Mahan is speaking about, that you have to have full understanding of your body, full understanding of your energy flows. If you did that, you'd have full on your mind, you'd have a full mastery of your mind. And if you have full mastery of your mind, you know how to generate the right thoughts, what to keep, what to learn, how to differentiate between what is real and unreal. We see that we move another notch up in terms of our sharpness of our intellectual power. So we see that at every level, we are seeing different states of consciousness and refinements. And the next aspect is actually we understand if our physical body is strong, our astral body is really strong and deep, we see that we experience the blissful state, which is the causal body, which is the subtle identification with that separateness. You're able to separate between what is the real, that's the big I, and that body. So you're able to separate, your personalities in a more kind of refined, more systematic and scientific way. And you see that this bliss is devoid of that material desires and, experiences. It is a bliss that is transcendental. So we see that we are able to separate between what is real and unreal, what is mortal and immortal, what is finite and infinite, what is, what is perishable and imperishable. So you start seeing that blissful, that separation that takes place, because now the mind is powerful. You have the intellectual capacity to differentiate the two. And when you are able to differentiate the two, the mind then gravitates towards that subtle, supreme, that indivisible, universal mind. So that evolution starts taking place, and we see that our state of consciousness become more and more refined and more, universal. You'd probably, see this in a lot of the writings and scriptures and so on. Mahan then goes on to identifying another important state, which is part of that next evolution, which is actually slowly your mind, is enraptured by that formless, dimensionless, universal identity that powers everything in this universe, including your body. By the way, the physical body is also picking up all the elements of this universe. It constructs the mind. It constructs the energy flow and the mind and the intellectual sheath. And you see that when you're able to separate the two, you're able to separate between what's powering it and what's being powered. So again, when one does that, then one will realize that within themselves, there is something far, far supreme and subtle. So the mind becomes really, really powerful and universal. It discovers its own infinite potential and possibilities. What is really fascinating, even in this chart, as I was drawing this chart, I realized that infinite is actually in all facets of our lives, this evolution. If you see, think of that infinite, it is the formless and dimensionless, that the black space in the background on the slide, you see that the light, that the white light is actually defining the body. But what is fascinating is what's inside the light and what's outside the light are the same. And what's in the light is also the same. So what we see most of the time is that the kind of a silhouette of that bodily experience, that body. But within that silhouette, we see that, that force is within and, outside the body, so, and shapes the body. That is why you see that Swamiji says that, this abode is for an ordinary mind that is very gross. is unable to tap into it because it's very subtle. That is why I say yettada tatparati. That means the abode that I cannot attain, yeti, through that introspection, contemplation, reflection, meditation, you see that I experience that my body in that energy form. I experience my mental state. I experience that intellectual, the jnana, the experience of understanding this, yetti utpuramai, that means going within me, going within the layers of my existence. Ipparamam, apparamam, yega paraparamam, ennunanarite. It says, I experience that inner cosmos and the outer cosmos is exactly the same. Very similar to when I was drawing this chart, I saw that the background of Irul, formless, dimensionless, is also embedded within the body, but yet creates a silhouette of that humanly existence. So when the mind experiences this, the white, formed of the body is also powered by the formless within and the outside. And Swamiji actually here in this chapter talks about how that introspection gives you that blissful experience. Let me read you a passage of this part in this chapter on page 100 in this edition of, this ninth, the what version of this is 2011 version on page 100. He says that when the subtle body is separated from the dense physical body, will experience a thrilling sensation as electricity of pleasure and rays of light will be passing through between the two bodies. So you see that you experience that formless, dimensionless that is passing through, and you're able to separate the two. Here, what is meaning here is that separating that the dark universal form and that white silhouette of the body. But yet, he says that, he says, we'll be passing through. And he says that yet you see that divine, that subtle experience of the divinity is embedded both within the body and outside the body. You see? So here, one who is caught in that gross body focuses only on the bodily experience. But when you go deeper, you see that the body can experience that universal experience. So here he goes on to say that, you'll experience that ray of light will be passing between the two bodies. You'll experience between the subtle and that material body. You're able to experience the power of that universal personality and also permeate that within your own gross material body. So he says constant visit to the subtle region. He says Shukma Loga, that means that astral world, and will greatly, will greatly be useful for clear knowledge of the truth and the principles concerning the body. So when you go through that evolution, your own state of consciousness of understanding who you are becomes more clearer. What is body, what is the mind, what is the force within us, what is nature, and what is that which the creator or the creating force that governs everything becomes more and more clearer. So he says constant visit to the subtle region, Sukma Loga, the astral world, will greatly be useful for a clear knowledge of the truths and the principles concerning the body, forgetting over things such as forgetfulness, and for enhancement of confidence and happiness. He says, sometimes as a human body, we have got all the limitations. But when we have this force passing through, all the limitations, disappears. And you see that you have a sense of joy, unconditional happiness and joy. The tejas that flow that happens in all of us. So here he says that, but to get to that state, one has to really look at how we do it. So here I have this chart I produced in 2015 that actually talks about this getting to that universal state. there's an evolution that we human beings go through, from the gross body right up to. So you see that most human beings, at the first stage of, we experience multiple state of existence because of our five senses. Our senses are bringing all this information, and we are constantly constructing new thoughts, new experiences. Some experiences are really good, so we feel so happy. There's a lot of sukha feelings. Some experiences are challenging. So, we go through challenging moments, and we see that, our brain processes this, and eventually we start seeing that, you know, our thought processes, for some people, very high and exuberant, and then very low. They go through the ups and downs and ups and downs on a regular basis. For some people, it's almost every day. Others, like every hour. Some people, every second, they're always going through. Uh, so here, that's part of nature's building of our software. This notion of fear, anger, courage, all those things are nature's way of creating the mini softwares in our mind, so that we are able to protect the body. We're able to note that fear is something that's embedded in human beings, so that when they are confronted by animals or that are bigger than them, or confronted by dangerous situation, that fear, enables adrenaline and other things to pump in your system. It gives you that, either you fight or you flee, you see. So these things are embedded by nature. So when you understand this, you see that you're able to master it. The same thing with envy, anger. But what happens is that for many people, it overwhelms them. And you see that ultimately, life becomes really difficult, right? So this is where Mahans and other great saints said, okay, all your senses are bringing all this information. You've got this duality state. So the one state of existence is actually very gross. You're caught up in the duality of sukha and dukkha continuously, you know, and there's no breakaway. And so much so that your brain becomes tired, your mind becomes tired, and your body becomes tired. And you see people that are always low energy, low sharpness of the mind, can't make that leap. That's one state of consciousness. But Mahan and the great saints taught, okay, you have to go deeper, go to the astral body and more subtler. And this is where that meditation is so important, that introspection, contemplation, reflection, meditation. As we do that, the wave, our mind becomes more calmer and more cooler. And the softwares that create fear, anger, all those things slowly take a backseat, subsumed into the qualities of the Mahans. I call the GP Mahan, the core qualities that I've been writing, and today I summarized it. So you start seeing those new mini softwares that come online, and slowly, slowly you see your own state of consciousness starting to evolve. The issue of gratitude and gracefulness, that software comes up. The software of patience, perseverance, persistence, practice, and passion for life. Passion not in the sense of limiting your mind, but passion, the love and the zest for life, the vibrancy, right? That software emerges. The software of mastering things, the software of awareness of your own self starts emerging. Software of humility and humbleness, the software of, it opens up that agile parts of your mind that is able to explore, try different things, connect things, relate things. So that software starts opening up in the mind. And finally, you see that the final software that opens up is that it sees itself as an extension of that universal personality. Everything you do, everything you speak, everything starts being powered by the software called mobility, right? And that you see a grander version of you coming up. And when that happens, we start seeing that you slowly become more and more subtle. You go to that state of blissful state, the state that is anchoring on that life force. So here you're transitioning from that state of gross material consciousness to that force in you, to that unarvu, the vibration, the mind anchors on it, and you see that your mental state becomes more calmer, more cooler, more, pristine, and you see that your intellect now is able to sift out what is important to enrich the mind and what the things that makes your mind shrunken, it leaves it out. And slowly you start seeing that you transition to the next phase of the blissful state. And this is what Mahan's Kundalini meditation does. It enables the mind to go deeper from that gross mind. So you are continuously evolving. You're experiencing different states of that consciousness that Swamiji speaks about, right? So here, and you see that your own, vibrations or the frequency starts changing. Before you're agitated and, now you become more calmer when you speak. There's a sense of calm and serenity, the sense of clarity, and slowly you see that ultimately it leads you to that self. That self, what do I mean? That silent state. You say, this is that beautiful state that separates from that humanly experiences, bombardment of humanly thoughts. So you're able to attain that quietude and that silence. That's another state of existence. You start experiencing, you start becoming more and more transcendental, experiencing the transcendental qualities that is embedded by that universal identity. So you have that expansion, the evolution that takes place. That's another state of experience and consciousness. You feel liberated. You're not attached. You're not neither attached nor detached. What a beautiful experience. That's another state of consciousness you experience. And finally, you see that we experience the final stop, which is actually I am that. That state that I showed you earlier, that state that the background and the in-ground and the foreground all are the same state within the silhouette of the human existence and outside. You see, everything is the same. This is what the finality is. So this is what that evolution that Swamiji is talking about in this, and he gives how one can do this, but the mind must be prepared to make that evolution, right? So this is where that introspection, contemplation, reflection, and also the service mindset, that nobility part is really important. It opens up the various softwares in us. Ultimately, it leads us to that universal software called whatever you call it, God or the creator, and so on. And this is the ultimate purpose of that evolution of the Swamiji's, that convergence of small I to the big I, the different states of consciousness. I will speak about in the next satsang on what are the benefits that you get by experiencing this evolution, and how do we harness it, how do we nurture it, how do we live a fantastic, wonderful, inspirational, and gracefully live this life. Sandosha.